What does the rest of the world do while New Zealand celebrates Waitangi Day?
Which politician from up that a ways has been spelling his name wrong for the last 76 years?
What faces you when you look at the Treaty of Waitangi?
And whose signature on Te Tiriti is the choppiest?
Oh, I can't wait to find that out. Happy Waitangi Day, everyone! Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything You Didn't Need to Know About. Today, we are talking everything you didn't need to know about our national holiday, Waitangi Day!
Hello, Waitangi!
Oh, yeah. I should have said that. Thanks, Jen. Thank you for coming over here from England and telling me how to pronounce Māori names. Really good of you.
Somebody's gotta.
Somebody's gotta. As always, we'll be telling you our favourite facts that we found out about Waitangi Day this week, and we will be choosing a winner. Will it be Thom Adams? Will it be Jewell? Or will it be Nathan Kenny? Or me, Sam Smith? We will find out. Well, 6th of February, that's the day we celebrate Waitangi Day here in New Zealand. It's our national holiday. Interestingly, it is also the day that my second son, Harry, was born. So every day he's going to get his birthday off. He's going to not have to go to work or school. Lucky wee bugger. Great parents.
Good timing.
It's very patriotic of you, Sam.
Yeah, Meg did most of the work.
You were just standing there going, hurry up. You've only got...
Come on, we want this.
We need this for a bit.
McDonald's breakfast finishes in like half an hour. Hurry up.
I found out this week that Waitangi Day, as we know it, has only really been around since 2014. That's when it was Monday Eyes. That's the version we have now, a Monday Eyes Waitangi Day. Back in 1977 was when it became a public holiday called Waitangi Day. Before that, in 1975, it became a public holiday, but it was called New Zealand Day. Norman Kirk brought it in, was like, yeah, hey, let's call it New Zealand Day. And then Robert Muldoon came in and the next government was like, that's a shit name. Let's call it Waitangi Day like everyone else has been calling it for the last forever. However, I thought that was when it came from. But then it was only sort of celebrated as Waitangi Day on February the 6th since 1934, when Lord and Lady Bledisloe, they bought the land that James Busby lived at, where the Treaty of Waitangi was signed back originally in 1840. They bought that land, made it a public place that people can go to whenever they want. And so, yeah, that happened in 1934. And before that, they used to celebrate it on January 29th, which was the day that Hobson arrived in the Bay of Islands. That was the day that we celebrated our national holiday. Even though, February the 6th is the day that people actually signed the treaty.
Started signing it.
Yeah, I was going to say the first of many.
Very, very true.
It's actually quite interesting. So there are about 40 chiefs who signed it initially. There's a bit large. It was drafted over about 3 days.
I like that. Initially, signed their initials.
Hey.
Good.
Probably didn't, though.
They didn't. They wrote their full names.
They drafted it over about 3 days, and it was then they drafted it, and then they got a preacher to translate it, and his mentality around how it was translated was actually quite interesting. Like, he specifically chose, like, I think, and Jen, you'll probably have a lot on this, like, he chose words that definitely translated or translated in favor of Māori
Differently.
Yeah. So if he didn't have a word for it, he'd choose one that favoured Māori rather than the other way around. And then there was some kind of initial hesitation with the Northern tribes, particularly because I think one of the issues was that we'd already signed a treaty. They'd signed the Declaration of Independence quite a ways before. But one of the kind of
in
key
the same
figures,
place. I didn't know that they signed it exactly in the same place.
One of the first chief to sign it was Hone Heke, who is probably one of the more famous chiefs of New Zealand's history, or Aotearoa's history, and he signed. He basically said, "We've got to do this." Signed it. He's actually 4th on the list because they placed some higher ranking chiefs above his signature after he signed it. Yeah. He was like, we've got to do this, for a whole range of different reasons. And then 4 years later, he was like, actually, this kind of sucks. Yeah. This is not what I was expecting. And he ordered the chopping down of the flagpole in Kororareka. And so chopped it down and then got the big up and then he chopped it down again 3 times. After the second time, you would have thought they would have added some metal bracing to it or something. But no. But yeah,
clarify, Kororareka was significant at the time because it was our capital.
Otherwise known as Russell.
Yeah,
Such a lame Anglican name. Really? What is this place? Kororareka. Oh, cool. What are you guys going to call it? Russell, Steve, Dave? I don't know.
There'll be some beautiful names for it in Australia. What are you going to call it? Murray.
Yeah.
Mother for short.
Do you know there's a link between Te Tiriti o Waitangi and Australia?
They're quite close.
They are quite close, yes. But it's that the reason that the British decided to pursue a treaty with all of the tribes rather than just going with, because initially they were going to do the Declaration of Independence, which was the Declaration of Independence, which was signed by a lot of the northern rangatira, and then they were just going to kind of like take the rest of New Zealand and be like, they're not smart enough to form an independent alliance, therefore they don't count, and we're just going to take over them. But they'd had so much pushback in Britain from, there was a war that went on with the First Nations people in Tasmania between kind of the early 1800s and 1832, and it had caused so much outrage because the First Nations people were absolutely slaughtered. It was horrendous. It was properly like barbaric, ironically, because they obviously saw the First Nations people as barbarians, and that's why they felt entitled to just slaughter them wholesale and torture them, and, you know, lots of
wholesale.
I mean, not inconsidered. H.G. Wells actually wrote The War of the Worlds to kind of try and convey to a British public what it would be like for such a technologically advanced civilization to just land on your sort of area of location and go, you're in the way and we're just going to destroy you, and you have absolutely no technological comeback. And that was part of this growing movement of like, should we be slaughtering other human beings even if they are a bit brown and different looking? And part of that kind of social backlash was why the British Crown decided to pursue the Treaty of Waitangi, which was supposed to be this unifying, everyone's happy, this is all completely above board and legit treaty.
Wow, it's amazing.
And there's been no issues since, not even a land signing the Treaty of Waitangi.
Well, I do find it interesting that they were like, we need this, like, you know, lasting compact, and it needs to be, you know, a legitimate document that you know, endures for generations to come, and it needs to be, they kept talking about a sacred compact and this, you know, coming together under Christianity, because of course they were going to convert everyone because that's what you do. But as you said, Sam, Hobson landed on the 29th of January. He then tried desperately to write a treaty despite not being legally trained in any way, shape or form. His mate Busby then got hold of it and was like, nah, and just rewrote bunches of it. And then they gave it to some random Christian missionary to draft into Māori.
Yeah.
And like, this incredibly important founding document just gets given to some random lieutenant and then amended by his mate and translated by some missionary who happened to be on site.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a great foundation for a constitutional document.
And it's not even, it's mostly Northern Iwi, Northern tribes that signed it. And it's kind of, and there were like, I think 200 different copies that got sent around, or quite a lot of different copies, and only 9 of them came back with signatures. And
the others just got returned, gone, no address.
and I think
this is shit.
No circulars.
They just keep getting that thing on the door saying, sorry, we missed you.
Please call it New Zealand Post.
You have a treaty waiting for your ratification. But they got like 400 different signatures on Te Tiriti, the Māori language version, the Te Reo version, and like 39 on the English version. Which also doesn't matter because, you know, if you're talking about international convention and such, Te Tiriti is the one that you abide by first as well. So, which is quite good. You know, obviously the more people are signing that one. Has anyone actually seen Te Tiriti?
Yeah.
And it is quite sad what's happened to it, because it nearly got burned. So it got saved in a parliamentary building because it was on fire. And one guy goes, I've got to take some stuff. And like, I think whether it was by choice or whether, and there's some suggestions that maybe it was actually burned to the ground. This government chambers on purpose to like get rid of like deeds and things like that, basically to erase all evidence of any kind of deals being done. But he grabbed this big iron box which had the treaty in it and escaped, and it got left somewhere, kind of wrapped up and eaten by rats.
Because it's valid.
It's valid, yeah. It's made out of goat skin.
Nice to know that the Treaty of Waitangi is treated a bit like my carpet here at my house. Just left or whatever.
Yeah, and then they found out they've kind of, you know, reconstructed it, but having seen it, you're like, man, that's our founding document. You'd have thought someone would have at least, laminated it, or
Kenny, that was going to be my question about your fact. Your fact was about what faces you on Te Tiriti, but which version of Te Tiriti?
In quite a enlightened move for the time, 13 women actually signed Te Tiriti, but they weren't able to write. So what do you do if you're not able to write? You use your moko and you draw a version of your moko. That's your identifier. You can say, that's me. So I was sort of intimating that that's what would face you back. But that's on Te Tiriti. That's not on the treaty. Or the third version that probably burned in that fire that Thom was talking about, that actually we should be referring to, that has everything sorted out. But mysterious fire. It's all in French. Why?
Wow.
Just burn it.
The true deeds of Duchavel's ownership of the entire South Island.
Oh man, I'm from the South Island, and it always, I think, is a bit weird that there are so many tribes in the North Island, and in the South Island, we got like 4.
It's mostly Kaitahu.
Yeah, Katamamu and Waitaha.
Yeah, I feel that shows that us guys from the South Island, we're just a good team. We don't need.
Well, Te Tauihu, up around Nelson.
You seem to be identifying. you are Ngāti Pākehā, are you not?
Yeah, I am.
That awkward moment in your pepeha where you have to admit that the waka that brought you to New Zealand was a Boeing 737.
It's like, my waka is a plane,
A plane, motherfucker.
Yeah, I tried to transliterate my maunga as Parikahu Taone, which is the Berkshire Downs. Really confused my te reo teacher. I was like,
I keep saying that my mountain is Space Mountain.
I'm not really getting the essence of it there.
What I love about the collection of the signatures was because it was done over such a long time and there was no communication. There were some rangatira who they're like, you have to sign this. And I think Te Rauparaha was one where they're like, have you signed this? He's like, I'm pretty sure I've signed this. Like, can you sign it again?
sign one of them.
Yeah, it's like, no, guys, I've signed this like 3 or 4 times. Some people's signatures turn up a couple of times on Te Tiriti because they were just like, look, we don't know.
It's like those petitions that go around and they're like, oh, we've got 8,000 signatures, and then they check and they remove all the like IP Freeleys and the 17 Martin Smiths, and then they're like, oh, we've actually only got 1,200 signatures. But
I say the 17 Martin Smiths.
Oh yeah, I accidentally named
That's my dad's name.
Sorry, I was going for generic man name.
So talking about another country's founding document, Declaration of Independence, Te Rauparaha could have got around that if he'd done the John Hancock route. Have you guys heard about this?
Amazing.
So over in the United States, your signature is called your John Hancock because when the Declaration of Independence was signed, most people signed their name nicely on the line as you do. And then John Hancock came around and just went, John Hancock.
And it's called a John Hancock.
Freaking massive. Yeah.
He's got a massive Hancock. Another thing I found out is that the 6th of February is also the day that Singapore was set up as a trading post by a guy called Stanford Ruffles, which is a cool name. Wait, did I say Ruffles? I meant Raffles.
I was going to say, I've been to the Raffles and had a Singapore sling in their courtyard.
Yep.
Oh,
it
amazing.
was very expensive.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
It was like $25 for a Singapore sling.
Yeah. So, it's been there since 1819, February the 6th. Same day, David, as our day.
Do you know what the rest of the world does when we're celebrating Waitangi Day?
I don't know what London does.
I've seen some things in London.
That actually happens when we are celebrating my brother's birthday on February the 7th, because obviously time zones are a thing. So while we're celebrating Waitangi Day, the rest of the world is celebrating that well-known public holiday on the 5th of February, World Nutella Day.
Oh, wow.
Jen, I'm going to blow your mind right now. The 5th of February is also my half birthday.
It's also my mum's birthday. Does that make you half my mum?
Yes, we share half birthday.
You're my mum.
Yeah, and Rachel.
It's
Candy.
my dad's birthday too, actually. Yeah. Hey.
Actually,
is your dad my mum?
Are your dad and mum half of me?
Oh my god!
No, I think one Tom's dad plus one Jen's mum equals one Sam Smith.
That's true.
This is the kind of high level maths that we're here for. Because I was looking into like national days to try and figure out, you know, what kind of things people celebrate. And most of them are fairly logical. So you've got Argentina's national day is the formation of the first Argentine government. So that's on the 25th of May. Or you've got the day that people became independent. So Tonga's the 4th of June. The Philippines is the 12th of June. And then there's the famous one in early July. What are they called? Venezuela, who were on the 5th of July. Or you can just celebrate the day that a bunch of people broke a bunch of criminals out of prison, like the French do with Bastille Day.
That's my brother's birthday.
Like 3 people out.
July 14th.
Massive riot, 3 people liberated during the citywide riot, and then they make a whole day to celebrate it.
French a fuck day.
There is an alternative name for Waitangi, though, team, which is Stephen Joyce Dildo Day.
Oh my gosh!
That was one
of the greatest things that has ever happened.
Yeah,
one of my favourite political moments in New Zealand history.
We might need to translate that for both of our overseas.
For those of you who are just tuning in and don't watch Last Week Tonight or anything, I can't remember exactly which year it was, but one of the, I think it might have been 2016. Stephen Joyce, who was one of our ministers of government at the time, was at Waitangi grounds and. As he was talking to press out of nowhere, as he's just talking about, Māori affairs and everything, you hear in the distance the sound of a thrumming, bendy plastic wobbling as it moves through the air. And out of nowhere, I think it was this side, Stephen Joyce was slapped in the face by a dildo, flung dildo. The woman who threw it was a nurse protesting the PPTA, or PPA? No, PPTA, no. Well,
the PTA, the Parent Teachers Association.
Yeah, or the Principals, Post-Principals Teachers Association. This dildo comes out of nowhere, hits him across the face, and she got arrested and became a national hero.
So I've met her. She was on 7 Days, a TV show I work on, and she was one of the guests of this history section we have. She came on the show, and she told us that when she got to Waitangi, it happened at Waitangi, and she had to ask someone who the man they were interviewing with the cameras was. She had no idea who the guy was, and she said, "Is that person a politician?" And they said yes. So she threw this dildo at them and yelled at, "You're raping our sovereignty," and then then got arrested, but had no idea it could have been any politician at the time that she threw it.
Against the proposal.
Yeah, or if the person had been wrong and it had just been some other guy that was like testing the camera, it could have been that person as well. The stand-in for the interview could have got hit by a dildo.
But point of order, it wasn't a dildo. It was a dog toy.
It was a dog toy, yeah.
It was a dog toy shaped like a penis.
Yeah.
It still looks very funny. It's a little penis with a little face at the bottom.
Why would you have a dog toy shaped like a penis? Isn't that training your dog to attack something that you really should not do?
Someone who doesn't own a penis themselves, it sounds funny to me. It's more sensible that you would have a dog toy in your purse than a dildo that you just randomly decide to throw at a politician.
Yeah, it was and it was purposely bought for the fact they bought it knowing that they were going to throw it at a politician.
At someone.
Is it also worth pointing out some of the cultural context around politicians at Waitangi?
Oh yes, I thought you were going to say dildos, but yeah.
Yeah, dildos as they relate to Waitangi Day. No, so just to point out that, Sam, as you said, in 1935, they made it, they kind of
34?
Created this, 34. They created this sort of national monument thing in where the Treaty of Waitangi was signed. And I didn't realise that Te Marae was actually set up after the gift of the lands at Waitangi by Lord and Lady Bledisloe. So it wasn't, I'd assumed it was there during the signing of the treaty, but it wasn't. And ever since, like as soon as they gifted the land to the nation, it started to become political. So the royals visited there a couple of times and like just various royals throughout the time. Politicians started turning up there really early on and sort of every year would turn up, do some politicking and then go away again while other people would just picnic and hang out on the beach. But ever since it was gifted to the nation, it's been this focal point of kind of Māori fights for sovereignty and rights and equality and just general political shenanigans. It's really interesting. I kind of had always in my mind, I guess, assumed that the politics around Waitangi was fairly recent, but it's not. It started back in like the year that it was inaugurated, it started.
Yeah, wow.
But at least the Bledisloes did realise one thing that would bring together New Zealand, and that's beating up Australia.
Australia rugby,
And-
The last time Australia had the Bledisloe Cup was 2003. Mwah.
That's
G'day,
nearly
this is
20
us talking
years.
about sports here. So Waitangi, Wai is the Māori word for water, and tangi is the word for, well, many things, crying and funeral. So Waitangi is often called Weeping Waters is the translation kind of for the place name Waitangi. And I found that there's another place called Weeping Water, which is in Nebraska. It's a city of 1,050 people. It's they celebrate every year with a great parade called the Limestone Parade. And there's one video of YouTube, not of the parade, just of some people at a cemetery there, and they're hanging out looking for ghosts. And it's called Weeping Waters because there were two Native American tribes that apparently fought over I think one of them married another one, like Romeo and Juliet or something like that. And then there was a big fight over that, and lots of people died. And then everyone cried because lots of people died. And then when you're there, if you believe in these ghost things, you can hear the cries throughout the night.
Spooky.
And it looks really
That sounds
nice.
terrifying.
Let's go to Nebraska. Great place.
Do any of the ghosts ever hit visitors in the face with penis-shaped dog toys? You just hear the thwack, thwack.
Ectoplasm. Yuck.
I know a fact about Stephen Joyce. He set up a radio station with Jeremy Corbett, who's now the host of the project and 7 Days that I work on. And then Corby went in the direction to do like comedy and performance stuff. Stephen Joyce went into business and owned many of the radio stations in New Zealand and got super rich and then became a politician and is now left. And so, yeah, the two of them are friends who started out together and just went in these hugely wild directions.
Imagine being a successful businessman, earn lots of money, very highly regarded in your field, go into politics, do things that you think are going to be good for New Zealand, and then all that you're remembered for is the sight of a pink dildo. And the person who threw it doesn't even know who you were.
Yeah. They called Stephen Joyce Mr. Fix-It because he fixed everything for everything else that other people couldn't do. Stephen Joyce was the guy they got in to sort it out. And then he's known for being hit by a dildo.
He had a zoology major, so there's hope for all of us, I guess. Also, Sam, that radio station was in Taranaki, New Plymouth.
Yeah, that's right. Did you guys know what when Waitangi Day happened back in February 6th, 1840? Do you know what Queen Victoria did to celebrate?
Did she have a bath 6 months later? She wouldn't have got the news for ages.
Right. Well, when she was signed on 6th February, 4 days later, she got married to Prince Albert.
Also famous for his penis.
Yeah. There's a guy who, again, entire legacy is defined around a dick.
Well, also because 9 months later, they had their first of 9 children. Too many children.
They had more children, but lots of them died in infancy.
Oh, too soon, Jen.
Sorry.
Yeah, so most national holidays are unambiguously happy occasions. Waitangi is not. So I'm quite looking forward to what might happen with Matariki. Now that that's a national holiday, it might be a bit more of a unifying force.
I find it quite funny though, Kenny, because when I grew up, like we had, I grew up in Taranaki, and there's huge Māori population, and where I've been living in Wellington and near Porirua, again, huge Māori population, and the festivals are wonderful. They're like really, really like that's my best memory is actually in Taranaki of the Waitangi Day festivals in Ngamotu Beach. So it's quite funny. Like I think it's really interesting the different experiences of it, because I've had nothing but good experiences, I guess, growing up of Waitangi, and then being like, oh, actually, there's quite a lot of stuff around this.
Yeah.
That's,
I've learned a lot of stuff about it this week that I didn't know about growing up in Nelson and in England as well. And then, finding out about it, it's like, whoa, there's a lot of, oh my gosh, why aren't we more furious about this? But then, of course, other people are furious about it. And I'm always like, no, it's Waitangi Day. I've got the day off. This is sweet.
Well, you got the English version of the Waitangi Day celebrations there.
Well, having a great time. Jen, you might know this. I remember reading, and it's one of those things that's been kind of hard to Google up, is that the Treaty of Waitangi or Te Tiriti is the longest ratified treaty in existence.
Magna Carta probably pips it. One of the copies of Te Tiriti is in the National Archives in Wellington, just not far away from where I work. And they have an exhibit in Te Papa, which is the National Museum. And it has this gigantic projection of Te Tiriti up in like a perspex cage. And I swear to God, until I was maybe in my early 20s, I thought that was a legitimate copy of the Treaty of Waitangi. I was like, it's so big.
Whoa.
Because it's like 4 meters long and like 2 meters wide.
There's just a picture of Steve Joyce with something big. Oh.
The prophecy.
It's his motto.
It might be the longest enduring treaty between nation states, because I think the British were kind of tacitly recognizing kind of Māori as a group. I'm
also not sure they count the Magna Carta, because isn't the Magna Carta just a bunch of pissed off lords?
Barons.
But I think it is. I think it's between people. It's an international treaty, I guess.
Yeah, the principles of Te Tiriti, which are often summarized as partnership, protection, and participation, they weren't actually like codified in law until the 1980s. We had this document for 140 years, and then someone was like, well, what does that mean?
We should probably do something about that, yeah. Do you guys know George Harrison? He was in a band called the Beatles. I was looking
Isn't
up...
he the one who died and they replaced him on the album cover with a cardboard cutout?
No, that's McCartney. So George Harrison has a song called While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I was looking up stuff about weeping because of Weeping Waters. So While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Here's another song called This Guitar Can't Stop Crying. And you will never guess it, but that song was released in the UK on February the 6th, Waitangi Day. It all adds up.
So Eric Clapton, who's a massive racist, so he wrote Layla about George Harrison's wife, who he then stole. So
great.
I can understand why George Harrison was crying through guitars.
And speaking of crying, we've actually got to finish this episode. We're just running out of time. I'm so sorry. So let's quickly just go back through and remind everyone of our facts. My fact was, I haven't even said it, Winston Peters. He's been spelling his name wrong for years. On his birth certificate, it's spelled with a Y. He's Winston. And he's been spelling it with an
like
I
the Wine Box Inquiry.
Yes, exactly. Cool, that's my fact.
How is that relevant to Waitangi Day?
Oh, he's from up north.
Oh, okay.
He's so angry about it. A couple of Waitangi days ago, when they had Gareth Morgan there, the kind of also kind of weird millionaire guy, and he called Winston Peters at Waitangi Day an Uncle Thom, which, if you know, yeah.
All right,
Winston
guys.
Peters did run that whole lot of anti-Asian rhetoric, and then found out that Māori are descended from the genetic line of Māori traces back to Taiwan. Yeah. That was quite fun.
Yeah, very good. All right, let's wrap it up quickly. Winston's been spelling his name wrong for 76 years. Go for it, Thom.
The first signer of the Te Tiriti was Hone Heke, who chopped down a flagpole 3 times.
That's right. Kitty.
If you can't spell your name, draw a picture of your face.
And Jen.
The rest of us, us in New Zealand are celebrating Waitangi Day by having picnics on the beach and talking about our constitutional sovereignty. The rest of the world is eating Nutella.
All right. So on the count of 3, let's vote for our favourite fact. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Jen, Jewell, you have got 2 votes. You take out the competition. Well done, my foreign friend.
Ngā mihi nui ki a tātou. Thanks very much to everyone for listening to this episode on Waitangi Day. Hope you have a wonderful day celebrating with family and friends, and remember what the day is truly about, and continue fighting for Māori to be equally represented and participate in this wonderful society that we're trying to build together in Aotearoa, New Zealand. For those of you overseas, find out whose land you're living on, give them appropriate respect and recompense. And if you are living in a land which is your own and your ancestors' whakapapa too, then congratulations and enjoy your time. Thank you very much for listening. Subscribe.
I completely agree with everything you
said,
but that was such a preach, eh?
Always. Never one to miss a soapbox. Yes, have a wonderful day. Celebrate with your family and friends, and we will see you next week when we are talking about...
It's going to be on indecision. Oh, wait, stop.